Welcome to the American Dream Podcast World Tour. I'm your host, Katerina, and today we're excited to welcome a guest from Mexico to the conversation. Through her unique perspective, we'll explore how diverse individuals from different backgrounds pursue and perceive the American dream. Join us as we take an imaginary trip to her home country and uncover the insights and experiences that shape her perspective on this iconic aspiration. I'm in the studio with Abby Houghton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I am thrilled to get to know your story today and just your journey to this wonderful country. But before we begin, what is your real name?
Well, actually, my first name is Belen. Abigail is my middle name. I go by Abby. Honestly, some people in my family call me Abby, like my grandma and my very close friends from childhood call me Abby. But in Mexico, everybody knows me as Belen because that's my first name. So like my ID, like people will call me Belen, but it's hard for Americans to say my name, Belen. So I just chose, the first time I came here, I chose to go by Abby because it's easier.
And it's still your name too. It's not like you had to change it. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't.
See, my name is Ekaterina Vladimirovna Kozlova.
I love
Well,
that.
that's like my first, middle, and last name. So I had to come up with a very short nickname because Americans can never pronounce my first name. And it was just tiring to me to listen. So now I go by Katie, which is not my name at all.
It's not.
But it's just an Americanized version, I guess,
know,
and
I love
shorter.
your name, Ekaterina.
Yeah, see, you pronounce it wonderfully.
Russians, I feel like Russians and Mexican, we're really good with the R's.
Yes,
We
same
do that
dialect.
accent.
Yes, same accent a little bit. Yes. So let's dive into the topic of your journey and immigration to the U.S. I want to know a bit about your background.
It's kind of funny because I came to the U.S. the first time in 2011, but I was here just as a student in a J1 visa, so I didn't have any plan to stay. So I don't count that as my journey now, because the second time that I came to the U.S. was 2014. So I have a bachelor's in touristic companies administration in Mexico. And then after college, I decided to go overseas to study a postgraduate diploma. So I graduated from Switzerland, HTTI School of Management. So when I was in Switzerland, yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was my dream to go to Europe. So it was great. It was a great opportunity to be in Europe. So when I was there, part of my training of my program for the master was to do an internship for 6 months in some country. They had an international recruiting forum. So many hotels went there. I chose to come to the States. I chose to work at Hyatt. They offered me a position there, Hyatt in St. Louis, Missouri. But I only came here for a year. They offered, instead of 6 months, they offered me a year, which to me was perfect because it's a paid internship. So I was studying, but I was working and I was getting paid. So I said, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's how I came here the first time. And again, I had no plans to stay. Then I went back to Mexico. I'm originally from Hidalgo state, which is the province, and I always wanted to live in Mexico City. So after college, I said, I'm going to Mexico City. So that was my plan.
So what were your initial perceptions and expectations when you came to America? When did you decide to immigrate and come back to the U.S.?
That's kind of funny because I didn't really decide it officially. I think it kind of just happened. Like the second time that I came was 2014, and I came back for another management training because I wanted to improve my career in Mexico. And after that, they offered me a position at the hotel that I was working, a full-time position. So I had to go back to Mexico and get a work visa. But even when I got a work visa, it's a TN visa. It's a non-immigrant visa. So I never really came here with plans to stay. And that's the thing, like it just kind of happened. I mean, the second time I was kind of more aware that I might stay longer, at that time, I met my now husband, so I figure maybe eventually it will happen. We'll see how things go. But yeah, so like I never came with a plan to immigrate. Like it just kind of happened.
What were your expectations of America when you moved here and you finally decided that you were planning to stay here?
Well, it's not like I had greater expectations, but I guess I decided that this will be a better place for me professionally and personally. All of my family lives in Mexico. I'm the only one who wanted to travel and see the world. So, but like I just, like, for my career specifically, it was really hard to find a job in my field that was at least decently paid. Mm-hmm. So in Mexico, I ended up doing more of a management side, which is not bad, but I was like, I studied so hard and I have this degree and I'm not using it. And then my English was getting rusty. So I'm like, I need to, if I want to keep continuing the field, I need to go somewhere where I can work. So that was my expectation here, to find a good job in my field. and just a good life.
The classic American dream. Speaking of that American dream, what was your perspective of that?
Well, I think it's about prosperity. I feel like everybody, they sell it about like it's everybody thinks that everybody's really rich in here, that there's a lot of abundance in the US. I think that's the perception in general. Like, I had been here before, so I kind of knew how it was. Like, I know it's not everywhere, and I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like in Mexico too. Like, you work hard for what you want and you can get what you need, but there's definitely more opportunity here, and that was my expectation.
That you will become probably easier, more successful here than in Mexico.
Easier.
Yes, yeah. So how would you define the American dream?
I feel like it's that just that it's not just prosperity, it's about like freedom and being able to feel safe and secure and do what you want.
How long have you been here in the US?
Since 2014, so I guess 7-8 years it's going.
So in 2014, that's 10 years.
Because I left in 2014 with my work visa. I came back in 2015. It's kind of back and forth. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's been a while.
Yes, we moved here the same year.
Did you really?
Yes.
You came here in 2014?
Actually, my mom did. I moved here in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So we're in the same boat. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
So besides your career growth, you mentioned a little bit about your husband.
Yes.
How much did that impacted your decision on moving to the US? Was it 50-50 or was it because of him mostly?
Not just because of him. And I was very careful about that because I didn't want to put that kind of pressure in our relationship because we were dating. Like, we were not, I don't know, when I met him, I was like, let's not get too attached because I'm not staying, I'm leaving, like, let's just be friends. And that's how we kept it for a while. But then I started getting really attached and I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything waiting for me in Mexico. I have this opportunity to come back. So he played a role, but I wouldn't say maybe 60-40 or 50-50. Like, I didn't want to tell him that. And he was kind of like, we didn't talk about it, but he was kind of like in the same mindset. He wanted me to come back, but he didn't want to be the reason that I wanted to come back. Because when I decided to come back, I wanted to go to a city initially. I wanted to go back to Chicago or somewhere. Something bigger. Because I was living in Galena, which is a tiny little town in Illinois. And it's really nice, but it's just like, it's a very touristy town, and midweek there's nothing to do. It's like a ghost town. So I was getting really bored.
So you finally moved to the US. What were some of the challenges that you have faced?
I wouldn't say challenges itself. It was pretty easy. I always land on my feet. I'm very lucky. Like, the owners of the hotel I was in, they're Irish, and they were so welcoming, and they had everything ready for me. They had apartments that I could rent. Everything was handy. They picked me up from the airport. I found a Mexican lady who actually offered me her house if I didn't want to live in an apartment. She's like, you can save some money. I have a room. So I stayed with her. And for a whole year, I rented a room with her, and she's super nice. She's like my second mom. But no, I think the only challenge maybe in Galena that I found would be the driving part, because it's a small town and there is no transportation. There were like 2 taxi companies, literally 2, and there was no buses or train or anything, and I didn't even drive. Like, I never had to. My husband was so surprised when he found out that I didn't know how to drive.
No, it's a legitimate thing. When I moved here with my mother never drove in Russia. Ever, because
live in a big city.
The city is huge and the traffic is crazy. All those accidents happening all the time, and you don't want to risk your life and your child's life, putting it in the car with you. So it was just scary for my mom to start driving here, and it was a different experience for her also. What about some highlights? Do you remember any cool stories when you finally moved here and something maybe cool happened and you were like, whoa, I was not expecting that?
Well, a lot of cool things happen, including my husband. But I feel like one of the things that happened faster, I mean, me getting a car, also, first of all, he pushed me like, you need a car. And then
yes, you can't live here without driver's license.
Poor guy, I drove him around. He had to pick me up and bring me back. And we live like across lines. So he had to cross, like, he lived in Iowa and I live in Illinois. I mean, it was like a 20-minute drive, but still. So yeah, the car. But I feel like one of the things that, and again, this is something that just flew so naturally, because I was always very free-spirited. I didn't want a car payment. I didn't want a mortgage. I didn't want to settle down. And then with him, I moved in with him, and then it's like, let's buy a house. It's smart. We got engaged, and then they're like, we should get a house. And maybe that's one of the things that it was like, wow, we bought a house. Like, it was just like, what was it, 2017? Just like a few years, like 2-3 years after I came back. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
That's cool. Yes, yes. So going back to the America and your first kind of time being here, what are some American culture parts that surprised you the most? Something about Americans maybe, or the country?
Maybe just how, not that it surprised me, but how friendly everybody was, how easygoing. Like, I don't know, like I wasn't sure what to expect at first. With like we Europeans, sometimes they're like, we Latin are very warm, and like they're very, Swiss, for example, they're very polite, but they like their space. And I wasn't sure what to expect here, but everybody's very laid back. And I feel like there's a lot of like, there's not one set things. There's like different kind of mentality. Like I would find very open-minded person. I would find more close-minded person. So I don't know. I guess a little bit like, it didn't like surprise me. It's just...
It was just different.
Kind of different.
Yes, yeah. When I moved here, that was the same thing for me, because in Russia, it's not in Mexico. It's very different from Mexico. And everyone is very closed in their own space. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's smiling at you.
That's how it is in the city. Are you from Moscow?
No, I'm from Omsk, which is like the Siberian region of Russia. Okay. So yes, everybody is minding their own business. It's a big city. Nobody has time to help you. So when I moved here, and I moved to Bolivar, Missouri too, the tiniest town ever, and everybody was so smiley, so like open, so friendly, so warm to me. And I was like, what, do you need something from me? Like I was not having it yet. I had to learn how to smile.
That's funny.
In America. Yes,
my best friend is from Russia, Grigory, and that's what he say, we Russians don't smile.
No, we don't.
This
is what you face. Get. Yes.
Funny.
So have there been any particular experiences or interactions with maybe American or another immigrant here in the U.S. that significantly impacted your American dream and your experience here in the U.S.?
I will say my boss, which became my friend, which is crazy. His name is Jack. He was the owner of the hotel that I came. It's an Irish cottage boutique hotel, and he's from Ireland. So he was like my dad. I love talking to him. He's very well read, very well traveled. And he's kind of the one that kind of made me consider, well, he's the one that offered me the job to begin with. If it wasn't for him, I always thank him. I still talk to him. And I always thank him. I was like, thanks to you, I ended up getting married and having kids and staying here, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had the chance to come back and see where our relationship will go with my husband.
So it's your boss. What is his name? Jackie? Jack, if you're watching this, we love you. Yes. Thank you for bringing Abby to the U.S.
Yes.
So what steps have you taken to pursue your vision of the American dream? I know you've told me already what is your American dream perspective and what you think it is. It's more about freedom for you, probably the opportunities and how easy it is to get to your goal here. But what is your pursuit, and how did you took your steps to get there to your American dream? Did you reach it yet?
I'm getting there. I don't feel, and again, this is something that it wasn't like I'm gonna go to build this to the United States, not specifically, vaguely. But now that I'm here, and a lot of people talk about this concept, the American dream, I'm working currently on mortgage, which is very different. I started working there 3 years ago. And it's funny because I was more of an admin. I started as an operation manager. Now I'm a loan officer. So now I have a different role, and I had to create my business cards and all of that. And the slogan that I chose was making dreams come true one loan at a time.
Oh, that's catchy.
And it's kind of like, and I got the idea from a friend, because she's also like, she's the one who got me into real estate. And she said, that's just the American dream, like getting a home and being established. And it starts there with a home. Because a lot of people, once you reach a home, it's a big milestone, like you're stable, you have a family or yourself, however it is. So I feel like I'm getting there now, like my new dream. I haven't got there, but I feel like I will get there pretty soon.
Do you feel like it would be the same if you stayed in Mexico?
No, not the same. I feel like I still would have gotten there, but in a different way, and probably would have taken me longer. My plan when I came here was to get what I needed, the experience, or an investor, so I could start my own hotel in Mexico. That's what I wanted to do. That was my plan. And because I wanted to leave the 9-to-5 job eventually. My dad is an entrepreneur, so I wanted to have my own thing eventually. And I feel like it's going to happen now and not in the way that I thought it would be, because it's more like a service thing. And I was thinking I'll have a restaurant or a hotel or, something more tangible. And this is different. It's very different.
Speaking of Mexico, you said that your entire family is still in Mexico.
Yes.
How do you maintain connection with your Mexican heritage while being here in the U.S.?
Well, I talk to my mom a lot, to my mom and my dad. I was closest to my dad, but now I talk to my mom a lot. So we WhatsApp. That's what we use in Mexico the most. So, and I talk to them at least once a week. And we go to Mexico at least once a year. We try to, so my kids can know them, and we FaceTime and all of that. But I did, and before that, I didn't really was so involved with the Mexican community, but now I am here. So the way I try to do it now is by being more involved with the Hispanic community, not only Mexican, but Hispanic community in Springfield, that I had no idea it was so big when I moved here. But yeah.
So what about your Mexican culture? You mentioned that you have kids.
Yes.
And your husband is American.
Yes.
So it's 50-50 family.
Yes.
How do you embrace your culture to maybe your kids, or here in the U.S., maybe you celebrate holidays differently?
Yes. And I try, and with my daughter, I'm trying to make them bilingual. We primarily speak English, but I do speak a lot of Spanish to them. So I always remind them, and I always tell them, Mama is Mexican, and this is what we do there. One holiday that is very close to my heart is Day of the Dead. So every year we do that. That's it's fun because we have Halloween, but then 2 days after is Day of the Dead. So I used to not to do this, but I started doing when I moved to the U.S. actually, put in my altar. And I always have my daughter help me with that. And we do it the traditional way, as close as I can, the traditional way.
Do your children support your culture? Are they interested in learning more about
They're
it?
pretty young. Like my oldest one is 4 years old, and my other one is 5 months. So I have a baby.
Okay,
So
okay.
the baby has no idea yet. But my daughter, she embraces it a lot, and I love it because she's so blonde. You wouldn't think she's a Mexican, but she always says, "I'm Mexican, Mama," and she's so proud. My mom have given them a bunch of dresses, and she's like, "I'm a Mexican princess," and she embraces. She tried to speak Spanish. She likes it. I want her to be proud to be Mexican, and I think I'm getting there. Like she embraces it. Is
it hard to grow a child in a bilingual family?
No, I don't think it's. I think it's hard for me, not for the child itself. I wanted to make it natural. The hard part for me was like, how strict do I have to be with the language? Like, I speak Spanish, but I speak English too. And I want my child to be able to speak English to me. And out of respect to me, when I'm in public and there's only Americans, I'm not going to speak Spanish because they won't understand me.
Yeah.
So like if I'm in public, just she and I want her to be comfortable speaking English to me. So that was my thing. And at home, some people just speak just Spanish at home. So I don't do that. I should be better about it. But it is kind of difficult to find that balance, I guess. Because I do want her to speak Spanish, but we don't practice it as much. She knows the colors, she knows the basics, and she understands. I'll ask something in Spanish, and she usually replies in English, but she knows what I'm saying.
So it's been 9 years since you've lived here.
That's crazy.
Yes, that is crazy. We moved here the same year. And where have you felt a clash between your Mexican culture and your Mexican identity and the expectations or norms in America yet? Have you felt that you're mutating into an American person yet? Because I have.
I'm becoming more American.
Yes.
Yeah, every now and then. Yeah, and my husband loves picking on me about that.
Yes.
He's like, oh, you're a gringa now. We call them gringos, Americans. So it's like, little things. But I feel like I keep, for the most part, I keep myself on the things that I like. There's things that, But yeah, I guess like just something so simple and silly. American tacos, which I hated them. They're growing on me. Every now and then he loves
Taco Bell?
Mexican tacos. No. That's a boundary.
No, that's where we draw the line.
We have been there. Like I have tried them mainly when you're like really don't want to do anything. I have tried them, but no. But when we do American tacos, he does crave every now and then with the flour and the lettuce and the sour cream. So he's like, "Ooh, I want tacos," and I get all excited. "Ooh, we're making tacos." He's like, "American tacos," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." But the reality is I kind of like them now. I mean,
what is
not
the
more than
difference?
Mexico.
How different are they?
It's just, well, for me at least, and this depends on what part of Mexico you're from, because in the north, they do like flour tortillas, but I'm from the center of Mexico, so we like corn tortillas. So for me, an authentic taco is corn, some sort of meat, cilantro, onion, salsa, and lime. That's it. And that's how it should be. Here, if you put lettuce and other things, it's the same, but it's different. And my husband always makes fun of me because it's like the same. Yeah, but it has a different name. Like if you roll it around and then put lettuce and sour cream and queso fresco, then it's we call it flautas or an enchilada, you know? So everything is the same but different. So the main difference is that the American one, and I hate the crunchy shell.
You do?
Yeah, because if you're going to do that, then do it flat, and then you have a tostada. That's a tostada. That's not a taco. So, and it is so messy to eat. I don't know why they do it.
It is
way.
messy, yes.
And I mean, the tostada is messy too, but it's a little bit easier. And it's a tostada. And I don't like the flour. So the American one is just like, well, more Americanized. And my husband does it like we get the salsa from the store, like the can. And I need to make my salsa from scratch. So like things like that.
How long does that take though?
Not that long. It depends on how you do it. I usually get tomatillos or peppers, and you have to roast them and then use the blender.
Well, it sounds like you're living your American dream right now, Abby. You have 2 kids. You have a loving family. You've been here for 9 years. And so far, the only thing that changed about you and more Americanized about yourself is tacos. American tacos.
A little bit. I mean, yeah, there's other things about Americans that I guess they're sticking on me, and I've always had great respect for America. I've never had, I have nothing but great things to say about America. They have always been very open arms for me. I know it's not the experience for other people, but for me, I'm very grateful.
What about the definition of success? Did that change over time when you moved to the U.S.?
It did. That did.
How?
A lot. Because before I met my husband, I was all about career. Like, to me, my definition of success was do what I wanted to do, have abundance, go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and don't ask permission to anybody. You know?
Be independent.
And being very independent and ruthless. And now my definition of success is having a job, a steady job that, fulfills me. But not only that fulfills that fills my pocket, but it fulfills my soul, as cheesy as it sounds, something that I can enjoy, and in something and being with my family, like having something that allows me to enjoy my family too.
Has there been any obstacles on pursuing your dream so far and becoming successful here?
I feel like the only obstacle that we have and we face, my husband and I, is the lack of a support system in a way. I mean, I have my in-laws, but they live in Wisconsin, 10 hours away from here. So we don't see them often enough, and it's just him and I. We have really good friends, but again, once you become a mom, you don't want to leave your kids just with anybody.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's hard for us, this transition, because we were single for a while, and then now we have kids, and that's the challenging part. I wish my mom would live closer. She could babysit at least once a week, so we could get some time.
Is your mom planning to move here ever?
No, never.
Why?
She will never want to move. She's a Mexican at heart. She loves her hometown, and honestly, my hometown is very blessed. I don't know why I never wanted to be there now that I look back, because they have everything. It's like a small town, but it's like a forest, and they have a lot of thermal waters and like springs, and they grow their own food, and they don't have anything processed, and everybody knows each other. And my mom has her siblings there. She's the oldest one, and her own home, her own land. She loves to have all the space, and she loves Mexico. She just loves Mexico.
Well, yeah, and then you come here and you only have Walmart.
Right. The mercaditos, that's
to go
something.
To,
yeah,
yes,
like those farmers markets in there, they're huge.
Yeah. So you miss your family, obviously.
Yeah, I do.
How do you overcome that? How do you not let your feelings get in the way of pursuing your American dream here?
Denial. That's my defense mechanism. I try not to think about it too much, and I just focus on the next time we're going to go. Like right now, we're planning to go hopefully by May, so they can meet my new baby. They haven't met my new baby. So that's how I keep motivating myself. Like, just not think about it too much. I want to make them proud. I know they're already proud of me, but I want to get to a position where where they want to come here, because she did try to get a visa. She got denied for some reason. She tried to get a tourist visa, and I want her to try again. But this time I want to be the one who pays for it, because it's not easy. Like in Mexico, well, in Hidalgo, you have to go to a different embassy, because we don't have an embassy in my state. There's only a few. So you have to pay to go there. You have to pay for the applications. You have to do this, to do that. And I don't want my mom to go through it and get rejected again. And I want to do it again for her. So I want to get to a position where it's like, here, you just have to show up. Like, I want to do the whole thing for her and like just ask her, give it another try. Because I know it's hard to get rejected. You know, like I've never been rejected for a visa or anything. And I was so surprised when she did. And she tried twice.
It's very demotivating.
Very demotivating.
Yes. Yeah. What role has resilience played in your journey?
Well, a big one. I feel like I am resilient, and it's because of my parents, because of my mom, because of my dad. And they taught me never to give up. You know, my mom is very strong, very independent. I was a daddy's girl. So like with my mom, I didn't get along at first. But now as I got older, like I realized that we are so similar, and that's why we clash. And I have so much appreciation for her. Like every time that I'm struggling, I just think about it like, how did my mom do it with 4 kids? She had 3 daughters in a row. I'm the second oldest, and a son. And all on her own. And she did everything. Like, I could not be a homestay mom. I don't know how they do it. I could not do that. I don't know. Yeah, I have so much appreciation for her. So whenever I'm struggling, I think about my mom or about my dad, how he built his company from scratch. And I'm like, if they could do it, I can do it. I have more resources than them.
So speaking of your family in Mexico and Mexican people in general, what advice would you give to others from Mexico or maybe elsewhere in the world who are considering pursuing the American dream and coming here to the U.S.?
Learn the language. It's really challenging, and I know sometimes some people take it the wrong way, but it's just very challenging if you don't know the language. I was very lucky that I always enjoyed taking English lessons, and I was in college before I got here, so I got the chance to practice my English. And I felt pretty confident when I was in Switzerland. I didn't have any issues. I understood the classes. Nobody had a hard time understanding me. When I moved to the U.S., maybe that was a challenge. My accent throws so many people off. And then I started to get self-conscious in my head. I'm like, maybe my English is not that good. And my manager at the Hyatt told me, no, it's not you. You speak it really fast. Your English is perfect. You have really good English. It's just the accent throws people off, and you speak really fast. So just take your time. Enunciate, and you're very smart. And if somebody can't understand you, just be nice and spell it out for them. That way they know you can spell.
So looking back to your journey so far, what lessons or insights have you gained that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Adjust. Be very open and be very don't put your expectations up. Like, don't have preconceptions of what it is here. Just be very open. Like, we all have an idea of how it's probably going to be, but just be very open and be very positive. Because even if you had a bad experience, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be like that. People in America, they're very kind, they're very giving, and they're, like, in general, that's the perception that I have. So, like, just be open and work hard. Be a good person. Be a decent person. Like, pretend you're in your country. You don't do things that you wouldn't do in your country.
Welcome back. This is the American Dream Podcast, and I'm here with a wonderful guest from Mexico, Abby, or Belen.
Either way, I love both.
Belen. I like calling you Belen, actually. I like that name, yes. Abby just sounds so simple and more American.
So American.
Yes. Thank you for visiting me today. So this half of the podcast is dedicated to us taking an imaginary trip to the home country that my guest is from, which in this case, it's Mexico. And before I ask you about why people should travel and explore your home country, I want to know, when was the last time you visited your home country?
Last year, we went on June. My best friend got married. So my husband and I was like 6 months pregnant. And we went down there.
What was your expression or impression of your home country then? After living here for 8 years or 9 years, you probably changed mentally.
Yes.
And you're looking at the world from a different perspective now. How was that experience of going back to your home country last time you visited?
Just like, I don't belong there anymore. I love my country, but I just felt like an outsider the whole time, a tourist. And the place that we went this time is not my hometown. We went to Estado de Mexico, which is near the archaeological zone. So I was a tourist. And I mean, it's like this dichotomy because like I feel like I belong there because obviously I'm Mexican, but I see it differently. Like I see little things that this is not okay. Like this is not American standards. Like just like the areas that you access to the archaeological zone. It's like, it should be better. Like they're doing a horrible job. And as a Mexican, I should expect that sometimes we don't have the best infrastructure. But now I see it different. It's like, oh, you could be doing better. Like, oh, it's sad. It's this way, you know.
Okay, so last time you went there, you felt sad.
No, not really. I was happy. I mean, it was my best friend's wedding. Yeah. But there's always this melancholy every time that I go to Mexico. That's true, though. I do feel always a little sad because there's this melancholy because I don't see myself living there anymore. My husband plays around about how we're going to retire to Mexico because I have land there somewhere. But I know realistically I'm not going to live there for a very long time. So I always feel like I miss it and like I belong there, but I always feel like I no longer belong there.
So you went there last year, which means you have a fresher experience of where to go, where not to go.
Yes.
So let's dive into the culture, art, and places to visit in Mexico. So what culture experiences do you recommend for travelers to kind of immerse on the Mexican culture better?
I think gastronomy. It's very important. Like wherever you go, I will try to go to an authentic Mexican restaurant. Not just, I had a cousin who took her boyfriend from Georgia once and all he wanted to eat was McDonald's. And it's like, well, okay, I understand it's comfort food and you're scared to try the Mexican food, but it's kind of like, well, it's probably going to be a different McDonald's than, you know, the US. And yes, we do have jalapeno packages in McDonald's here. But other than that, it's like, try to immerse yourself in the experience wherever you go. So to me, that would be one of the main things. Try to learn what's local in there and try and be adventurous. Try to, it's nothing bad. If they're going to give it to tourists and we eat it, it's usually safe. Of course, don't go to, you know, like a street little stand, but there's places. So try to do that and try to learn about the culture, like whatever they do this. I know the main sites to go all the time is like Cabo and Cancun, but there's so much more to Mexico than that.
Any little small towns that you can name for travelers?
Yeah, well, I'll probably go to my state, Hidalgo. We have a lot of places that are called magic towns. They were baptized that way because the architecture is very specific, so now it's protected. So let's say there's a McDonald's that wants to go there, they'll have to adjust their architecture to there to not compromise that. So there's little towns like that. In Hidalgo, I would advise to go to Real del Monte or Huasca. Real del Monte is it's a very interesting town. We had a lot of silver there, so the English went there and got a lot of silver there. So we have an English museums and pastes, and you can buy really cheap silver there, like earrings and stuff like that. And so that would be one. And Huasca. Huasca is very close to this area we share with other states. And they celebrate Day of the Dead really different. It's called Chantolo, which is more indigenous in the original way that it was. Because Day of the Dead is a mix between Spanish and indigenous.
How does Mexico's cultural diversity contribute to its appeal as a travel destination?
I think it plays a huge role because, again, Mexico is very big, it's very diverse. So in the north, you have originally the natives from there. There will be one, and there's a different native town in the middle and in the south. So the Mayans were more in the south. I'm in the middle. They were the Toltecas, which a lot of people don't know, but it was a smaller one tribe. And so it plays a lot because the food is different, the weather is different, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we eat, everything is different.
So would you recommend visiting from north to like middle to south?
It will be very challenging. Like if you've been to Mexico before and you've only been to like the touristy sites, I would recommend you to choose a different state this time and go to the center. You can visit, and if you're going to go to the center, you could go to like Guanajuato, Querétaro, Hidalgo. They're pretty close. So you can do like a little tour. And like, for example, Guanajuato is a very touristy site. There's this place called San Miguel de Allende, which like 60% of the population, they're foreign. A lot of Americans and a lot of Europeans love the town and move there. They bought houses because it's beautiful. It has a lot of museums and a lot of places to go eat and art like festivals, and they have like a jazz festival and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Speaking of festivals and interesting spots to see, what about historical destinations?
Again, I will go to the center. I'm obsessed with Mexico City. I wanted to live there for so long, and I lived there for 2 years. So don't be intimidated by Mexico City. It is bigger than New York, and it's busy, and it's crazy, but it's also safe because it's very touristy. Again, it's so cosmopolitan. There's so many people there from different countries. And if you go to Mexico City, it's easy to go visit different places around. So the Aztecs were established in Mexico City, in that area. So the place that I went last time is called Tenochtitlan. So there's the huge pyramids, the most famous ones. Those are there. So that would be a good option if you're staying in Mexico City. If you don't want to stay in the little town like the one I stay, because it's really little, you want to stay in a big, nice hotel in the city and then just take a trip. It takes like an hour.
Which sites do you consider essential for travelers to see?
The south, I guess. The south, like anything. I feel like you need to see the both sides of the sea. You can see Cancun and Cabo just to experience the two different ways. And the center. So, and I'm going to be biased. I will say Hidalgo, but any of the states in the middle. So it could be Querétaro, Mexico City, Guanajuato, one of these ones, because we are more alike in the type of culture and what we have there. So experience different sides, at least south, at least center, and at least north.
And how do those sites impact Mexico's rich history and culture?
Well, they impacted a lot because, and again, we have a lot of immigrants too. Like even our most famous taco, the pastor taco, it's a mix because it's originally from people from Lebanon that came, that they did it in this specific way, and like a trompo, they call it. So we Mexicans, we take something and we transform it and put a spin on it and do our thing. So it has a huge role. Puebla is another state that is next to mine, and it's fundamentally different too. Because a lot of Spanish people came there, a lot of Jewish people came in there. So they brought techniques that, there's this thing that is called talavera, that is like a ceramic base that is very specific only from those areas from the Middle East. But they brought it here, we learned it, we made our own, and now it's famous, and everybody buys it, and it's super expensive.
So you mentioned a little bit about food. Let's talk about the cuisine in Mexico. Everyone knows tacos here in America. Everyone loves Mexican food. But how is Mexican food in Mexico? What are some dishes to try in Mexico?
And again, this is going to depend on the region that you're at. So if you're on a resort, definitely go for fish, fresh food, and anything like that. Mazatlan is one that I really like. It's more on the side, kind of below Chihuahua. And they make this pescado zarandeado that is super famous. It's basically a fresh fish. They open it and they cook it on the oven. And then, but it's like a rock oven. And it's very specific with like salads and stuff like that. Anything, if a Mexican invite you to eat, they're going to ask you, do you want a taco? ¿Quieres un taco? But that doesn't mean you're going to eat literally tacos. It means it's going to be a dish and there's tortillas on the side. So we usually eat it with tortilla. So you can make a taco out of that dish. But it doesn't mean it's just going to be pastor asada and chicken, It can be so many things. And not everybody eats just tortilla. Some people eat different ways, So like fish, if you're on that in those areas, Mazatlan will be zarandeado. Again, I'm going to go back to Hidalgo because I love it. So barbacoa. Barbacoa here in America, everybody thinks it's just shredded beef. In my hometown, it's made out of sheep. And it's cooked the traditional way, which comes all the way from the indigenous tribes underground. They use wood, they use rocks, lava rocks. They cook everything there. They bury the meat there. They cover it with agave leaves, and they bury it for like at least 5 to 8 hours, and then the next day you eat it. And the flavor is so different. It's very smoky. It's very unique. So if you're, again, in the center, it's originally from Hidalgo, but they also do it in Mexico City and Estado de Mexico.
What about desserts? Is there any unique desserts you can recommend for people with a sweet tooth like me?
Sweet tooth. Yes, I love sweets too. Flan is not for everybody, but that's a good one. Arroz con leche. Have you ever tried rice pudding? It's super easy to make.
Rice pudding.
They sell it at Walmart, obviously, but it's very different from where we do it. It's basically just make rice with milk, some other sweets, cinnamon, and it's like a little pudding. In my hometown, they make it a little more soupy because they put a lot of milk. But on other places, it's just like a little cup, and it's called arroz con leche.
Do Mexicans eat a lot of ginger?
Not a lot, no.
Because I have heard that there is those like plastic straws that are covered in something. What is that called?
That's the tamarindo. It's different. If it's what I'm thinking. Sometimes they even put it on beers. It's actually really long.
Spicy stick or something like that.
It's tamarind with chamoy. And
chamoy, not ginger. Yes, chamoy is what it is.
Chamoy is one of my favorite. It's just this sauce that is kind of sweet. It's fruity, sweet and spicy, and that's kind of how Mexican
sweet and
candy
spicy.
is.
Yes.
So it's a very unique, different flavor. I remember I gave a candy to my Russian best friend once, and from Mexico, and he could not eat the whole thing because he's like, it's sweet and sour, but it's spicy. So he started eating. He's like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's too spicy for me. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yes, it's very different. I have tried it too. Yes. Yeah. I also have watched a video of this travel show, and they tried this dessert that was supposed to be a dessert, but it turned out to be something different again. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell me what it was. It was a spoon, just a plastic spoon with something underneath it, like a bowl of something. Maybe it was chamoy once again of some sort. And then on top, there was like a salty little cube. I don't know what that was, but it was something from Mexico. And I was like, when they tried it, they just couldn't eat it because it was that salty. It was like a piece of salt on top of the plastic spoon, and underneath it was something spicy again.
I wonder what it was. But they made it for them in front of
They didn't make it. It was packaged.
Oh, okay. So it might be one of those weird ones. We have these cucharitas that they call. It's literally a spoon, and then you fill it up with like it's sugar and chili powder and usually tamarind or some other thing. So it's like very... Yeah, it's different. I don't know the name specifically, but if it is what I'm thinking, it's just called cucharitas, and the kids literally eat it, like the 4-5-year-old kids eat it.
Yes, but it's spicy though. That's why I'm like, for my sweet tooth, that will not satisfy me probably.
For your sweet tooth, you should try, and we have the Mexican store here. They have really traditional artisanal candies. There's this one made out of goat milk caramel. It's called Glorias, and it's very from the north. It's one of my favorites. So Glorias is... It's kind of like fudge, like caramel fudge with peanuts on it, and they just wrap it around.
Okay, that sounds delicious. Yes, not the spicy stuff that I have tried, and I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the natural landscapes and natural beauty of Mexico. Is there any waterfalls or forests you can recommend to our listeners?
Again, I'm gonna go back to my hometown, but. When I took my husband to Hidalgo, to where I'm from, because I wanted to show where I am, he had, like, the Mexico that I showed him was very different than when he met. And people think Mexico just think beaches or deserts. And we have so much more. There's a lot of waterfalls where I'm from, Hidalgo. We call it La Sierra. So there's these wooden places, lakes. You can do hiking. You can do glamping. That's what I wanted to do, glamping. And you can do, in my hometown specifically where I'm from, you have water anywhere. We're so blessed. Like you poke a hole in the ground and you'll find water. So we have cold water, the manantiales, we call it. So springs, a lot of springs. And then we have volcanic water that comes out. So kind of like a spa. So we have really hot water and really cold water. And Hidalgo is full of cascades. There's another one that I took my husband that I really like, is Grutas de Tolantongo. And they literally make like little spas in there because the water just, it's like such a blue turquoise water. And they don't put anything in it. That's just the color of it. And they made this little, so since it's the water comes out everywhere, they started put like little stuff around it. Kind of looks like a jacuzzi. And they have a bunch of them there. So you can go there, and there's caves that you can go underneath. If you have problems with pressure, you shouldn't go in there because it's very steam. But yeah, there's so many waterfalls, not only in Hidalgo. There's a city in Morelos, Cuernavaca, it's called. They call it the Eternal Spring City, La Ciudad de la Eterna Primavera, because it's always spring. It doesn't get cold. It doesn't get too hot. It's always spring. The flowers are always blooming. I don't know why. I don't know why they do different.
Sounds like paradise on earth.
But yeah, it's kind of like the Hamptons of Mexico.
Yeah. What about some lesser known destinations? Maybe a small, tiny house that you can rent out in the middle of the forest?
Oh, I've been dying to go to one like that. They have a lot of those in Oaxaca. Oaxaca is another great state, and it's close to the beach. That's where Oaxaca cheese is from, and mole is from. And Oaxaca has these little mountains that you can go and rent these little cabins. Like you literally are sleeping in the clouds. Like you wake up and you're looking at just mountains and sunrise, and I'm dying to go there.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, that's one.
How do Mexicans welcome visitors?
I think it's just in our blood. We were just talking about that with a friend recently about how she's traveled to a lot of places, but she always goes back to Mexico, and not because she's Mexican, but because it's where they get treated the best. I think just Mexicans, we're very friendly, very hospitable. So like, it's funny that my major is hospitality, because even though I'm not in hospitality anymore, all of my bosses, when I work in other fields, they're like, you can tell the hospitality in you. Like you bring hospitality to whatever you're doing. Like you're doing a transaction for insurance and you're just so warm and empathic and caring. And that makes you
And
really
a lot of people buy insurance from you.
Right? Yeah, hopefully loans now. But yeah, so like, and all people is in Mexico, and we don't just do it for the money. Like you go to a tourist place, obviously you work for tips. But just everybody is like that. It's just very friendly, very welcoming. We have this saying, mi casa es tu casa. Everybody feels like that. Everybody wants to be a good host. They want you to have a good time. They want you to like Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Do you need to know Spanish
to go to Mexico?
Yeah.
Preferably, but if you go to a smaller state, preferably you should. But if you go to a big city, they'll speak English. Like Mexico City, you don't need to. Mm-hmm. And touristy places, you don't need to either.
And if somebody doesn't speak Spanish, like me, I've never learned it in school. My second language is Russian. What is the sentence? I always like to ask my guests to teach me a little bit of their language. So you're my first guest that speaks Spanish. Or actually, no. You're my second guest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Laura.
Yes. So what is something that I should say in Mexico in order to get help from people?
Ayuda. That's what my husband always says. Ayuda.
Ayuda?
That literally means help. Ayuda. Ayúdame is help me. Ayúdame. If you're in trouble, you say ayúdame.
Mm-hmm. But how to? So is there any way to say it and not scare people? So like
just what would you want to say?
Yeah,
like, I need help.
I need help finding a bathroom.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then that will be ¿me puede ayudar?
Me puede?
Me puede?
Me puede.
Me puede. And this is a very polite way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Me puede?
Me puede ayudar?
Ayudar. Me puede ayudar.
Yeah, and that's, you can do fill in the blank. Can you help me with anything?
Me puedo ayudar restroom.
Me puede ayudar
Toilet.
al baño?
Al baño.
Yeah.
Al baño,
like,
yes.
Can you help me find a bathroom?
Yes. I feel like I love Spanish. I love speaking Spanish more because it doesn't take my tongue to move in a different place. Like for English, where I have to like do that thing with the R and make it sound like inside.
Yeah. No.
I have to like swallow half of my tongue inside in order to pronounce anything in English.
That's funny. Yeah.
So what about some Mexico traditions? I know that Mexico has a rich culture, traditions, history. What are some events or festivals or maybe time of the year that travelers should really look into going and visiting that country?
Yeah, and again, it depends on the region. But to me, a big one is November 2nd. If you're interested in something more cultural about Day of the Dead and you want to learn that it's not just a costume, it's more than that, I will go in November. And it's an off season, so it might be easier and cheaper places to go. Mm-hmm. But I like that one, Day of the Dead, so November. Christmas is big. It's going to be really expensive to go on Christmas. It's high season, so we're big on Christmas too. New Year's is good too. The summer is the one that everybody wants to go. Mm-hmm. Summer or spring. But what other holidays do we have? Well, Independence Day in Mexico is September, so that will be a good experience too. It's more the fall, and it's just a party everywhere. That's the typical party that you will think of as Mexico, like mariachis and tequila and everything. All the traditional, we call it antojitos. Antojitos is like the junk food, like tacos. Tacos is a junk food.
Is there any unique souvenirs that a tourist should bring with them back from Mexico?
Yes, so many. And again, depending on where you're at, and I'm a foodie and I like to drink and eat. So if you're in Oaxaca, bring some mezcal. Traditional mezcal, which is different than tequila. It's an acquired taste. Not everybody will like it, but it's a very smoky, different kind of tequila. So bring a mezcal, and they're super expensive here. So if you go to Oaxaca, get a good one, and it will be way better. Artisanal things, a lot of ceramic if you're in the area in Puebla or Mexico City, anywhere like that. Clothing. Don't buy them on Etsy. They're super expensive, and it's an American lady that is selling to you. So buy it from a native person, please. Please. Pretty please.
Oh, so buy Mexican traditional clothing.
Yeah. And this, if I were to sell this on Etsy, it will sell for thousands, like a lot of money.
Really?
Yes. You will find a lot
on
of things.
Etsy?
Yes. And Etsy.
Wow.
And a lot of American people go to Mexico, buy by bulk from the artisanals, cheap, and they sell it on Etsy. And
what about some like piece of nature? Can you bring like a rock from Mexico or something, or a shell from the ocean or sea?
I think shells they will let you bring. They won't let you bring dirt, like or like sand probably, unless maybe you encapsulate. If you go to the beach, sometimes they sell a tiny little thing with like a piece of. I remember I used to get these souvenirs when I went to the beach. It's like a little bit of sand. They put in a tiny little crystal bottle, and then they put a little rice grain, and they put your name on it, and the rice grain.
That's so cute. I want to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
So what about safety in Mexico? I know that safety concerns a lot of travelers, and I've seen some, show moments when people got robbed, like in Honduras or in Mexico City. It's a big city. So what would you advise to travelers to ensure that they're safe in Mexico? Where to go? Where to stay?
Yes. And again, it's going to depend on where you're at. If you're going to go to a resort, you'll be safe. Just don't leave the resort. Like, stay with the people, with your guide or whoever you need to. But of course, if you want to go to little towns, I will just be mindful of where you're at. Don't go to... You're not going to know what the bad parts of town are, but just be mindful. If you don't know the place, go with somebody and ask what are good places to go. And in Mexico City, just... use Uber or Lyft or anything like that is very safe. And Mexico City is a lot of people think it is unsafe, but there's certain neighborhoods, but in general, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. I lived there for 2 years, so I like it. And small towns are super safe. Somebody asked my husband once if he felt safe when he was there with me, because he stands out. He's the only American probably in my hometown when we go there, And he's like, no, I do feel safe. People look at me because I'm different, but like, it's very safe where I was from, and little towns are usually like that. If you're gonna do your research, if you're gonna go to certain places like Border or like Michoacan or places that they're known to be bad in like crime, and then I will definitely advise to be careful on those sites. Like, do your research before you go, and if possible, whenever, try to get advice from a local person. Like that's what I always like to do.
How do you meet local people in Mexico? How do you get in touch with them before you travel or when you landed there? Where do you find them?
Depending where you go. So if you go to a resort, when you land there, there's usually a concierge or somebody reliable from the hotel. If you go with friends or anything like that, or if you book your flight with like a travel agency local from Mexico, then they will be a good source to do that.
So are there any cultural customs or etiquette that you should know before coming to Mexico? Like how to talk to people, how to approach a Mexican person?
Oh, we're pretty easygoing. But the one etiquette thing, and this is more for family and moms, don't say no if they're offering you something. Like to my husband, they're always giving him more food than what he wants. And he's like, will your mom be offended if I don't eat it? I'm like, at least try it. You don't have to eat it, but at least try it. So like, there's things, especially if you're like familiar with them or their friends. But other than that, just be nice. Just be a nice person, and everybody's super friendly. So
be nice, respectful, and people will be nice and respectful to you back.
Pretty much. Yes, I guess.
How do you believe tourism can contribute to development of communities in Mexico and Mexico as a country?
Oh, a lot. It contributes a lot. That's some towns live off that, especially like the touristy ones. But it helps a lot immensely. That's why, like in my hometown, for example, they started building these parks, like water parks. And there's so let's say that, and this is the case, they decided to put a little hotel there because we get a lot of people from the city coming on the weekends there. So they build a hotel. So now they get so many people in the hotel that their little restaurant next door is starting to grow. So they grow their business too. And then they have enough money to improve the area. They build up the little bridge. They added these places where you can go camping or you can do a carne asada. So it contributes because everybody grows. So yeah, it does.
So travel to Mexico.
Yes, and support local, buy from little places.
Are there any eco-friendly or community-based tourism initiatives that you could recommend supporting?
Yes, and again, everywhere you go, you can find them. And I know a lot of people that go to the south, to the Cancun area now. They have this immersive experience where they go to stay with a family there, and they see how they do their life. So they teach them how they cook, where they go, where the areas. And now that I mentioned that, in this part is the etiquette, be really mindful of the places that they're sacred. So they no longer let you climb the archaeological zones because some smart guy wanted to pee on them or do a graffiti on it, So just be respectful of that part. But yeah, try to get in touch with people that there's a lot of ecotouristic places. They even do it on the touristy sites. But in the center of Mexico, they do it a lot. In my state, in Hidalgo. So if you stay at the cabins, everything there is, there's light, but mainly they advise you to do everything natural. So if you're going to cook a carne asada or anything, they provide the wood and they provide everything you need to. You can go fishing. That's something that my brother-in-law really like. You go fish for your feed and they cook it for you right there.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool.
So in your opinion, before we hop into a break, what sets Mexico apart as a travel destination to visit?
I think the diversity that we have in the culture and, again, the hospitality, just our people. We're just very genuine.
What do you hope travelers can take away from their experience in Mexico?
I will hope they will go back with a different perspective of what Mexico is. They get surprised for all that we have to offer, other than what they thought it was.
Welcome back. You're listening to the American Dream podcast, and I'm here in the studio with Belen from Mexico. Thank you for visiting me today. Yeah, gracias. Yes, por favor. So this half of the podcast is my favorite one because, number one, I get to see fun items that a person from a different country brought, and number two, it's always so sentimental. And usually every guest that I have had on the show had a story, emotional story attached to a specific item. And also, if you're just listening to us, make sure you check out our YouTube channel and just look up the American Dream podcast to watch and see all these items that Belen have brought in the studio. So let's begin.
Well, the first one I'm going to show is the one that I'm wearing.
Beautiful shirt.
It's a shirt. It's called a huipil. So it's a very traditional. My mom gave it to me, and I don't have a flag from Mexico. A lot of people bring a flag of their own country, but this is my flag. To me, if you're Mexican, you'll know this is Mexican. It's handmade, it's artisanal. You won't find any other made exactly the same because they make them unique. So this one is, I think it's from the south. She got it in Yucatan, in that area, Mérida, in the area of the south. So Mayan, and all of the symbols tell a story. So they're different, depending on the native group that you're at. In my state, is the Tenangos. Tenangos, they're very colorful. They're alebrijes, and they're a lot about nature and the field. These ones are more Mayan, so it's different. It's about the sun and about the stars and the position, what's important for the Mayans. So this is one of them.
It does look like it's little pieces of puzzles on the sides. What do they represent? What are those symbols represent?
I don't know all of them. I'm not gonna lie, but some of them, I think these ones are stars, and but they all represent the culture, the cycle of life, how you start here and how we position, the sun and the nature, and just how you move forward.
What are the colors represent?
The colors, those are random, to be honest. The colors is whoever, it's always very colorful, but it's whoever wants to choose them. My mom chooses for herself, and then she didn't really like how it fit, so she gave it to me. And yeah.
Did your mom make this, or she had somebody else made it for her?
Somebody else made it for her. She does know how to make these things that I never learned. I'm a bad Mexican. And actually that takes me to my second one. This is something that my mom made.
Okay.
And she knows, she's really good about it. She knows how to make this little part. And then she
that's
also did
beautiful.
this flower. So this is something that she made. It's called quadrille.
Oh my gosh, I know how to make that.
Do you really?
Yes.
Wow.
This is like actually not this,
or the
but this
quadrille?
is yes. I don't know. It's like a crisscross.
Count, right?
Yes,
The
yes.
little-
It's actually a requirement in Russian school, believe it or
used
not.
to be in Mexico, not
To
for
learn,
me. But
yes.
my mom, that's what she said. She learned
Yes,
it in school.
yes.
And then she tried to teach me, and I was like, I'm not learning that. It's too tedious. And we use it for tortillas. This is how you keep your tortillas
I have
warm.
made a lot of those when I moved here, and I had nothing else to do. I had no friends. I couldn't speak English.
Oh my gosh.
So
So
I
just
used to
gotta do-
spend all of my time making this. And
That's
let me show this to the
awesome.
camera, actually. This is like a little close-up. This is a crisscross вышивание. Translate that from Russian. I don't know how to say it in English. But this is absolutely gorgeous. And you brought it,
know.
when did you brought it from Mexico?
The last time I was there, I think my mom, I have so many at home. My mom gave me a bunch of them. She thinks I eat tortillas every day. So she gave me so many. I have so many at home. Some people use them for decorations. They're smaller one, and they'll use it for like their side table and put stuff on it. But this is for tortillas. My mom thinks I eat a lot of tortillas.
So did you brought only one? And how long ago did you brought it?
I think it was 2015 when I came back. But I have so many more. I have like at least 10 of them. My grandma made one also for my daughter when she was a baby, so it's a huge one too.
Oh, it's a big one. So it's like a whole table cover, probably.
Yes, a table cover.
Can she make carpets too?
Not carpets, no.
My grandma used to make, they're not like really
my
a
grandma.
carpet, but she used to make it, believe it or not, out of plastic bags and just like random like ropes or like old t-shirts or something like that. She would cut it in pieces and kind of do the same thing as this is. I don't know. Do you know what this is called in English?
It's like
I'm totally
crochet,
blinking.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Crochet?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so she used to make kind of like this exact like format of a yes and she used to make like tiny carpets that you put like by the front door or like little
cute,
mats.
like little mats. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I know what you mean. People do it like that in Mexico too.
This is beautiful. I love those.
And
I love those colors.
She had so many colors. My mom likes flowers, so it's a lot of flowers that I have from her. She made the ones from my wedding too. She made the little two doves, say Abby and Ben.
So are those placed in your house right now?
No.
No? Why not?
Because I have no use. Like, if anything, it would have to be kind of like decoration right here. But they're for tortillas. That's the function of this one. I have one, a tortillero, it's smaller one. But my mom, what she will use this for is to go get a kilo de tortilla. And then you wrap it around.
I was going to ask, how does that work? Do you place like a hot tortilla when you make it?
In Mexico,
or
you eat tortillas with everything. So like my mom, when I was a kid, she would be like, oh, go to the store and get a kilo of tortilla or 2 kilos, as much as we were eating. So you go, they make them by hand. Well, not hand, in this case, the tortilla press. But they make them every day fresh. So you go to the neighbor, like a block from where I live, and I say, oh, quiero un kilo de tortilla. And I take this. So they put the tortilla pack in here, and then they wrap it around here to keep them warm. And I just take them in my bag.
to keep them warm. That's why it's a material, because I was going to say, isn't the fuzz will stick to the tortilla?
Won't. And that helps a lot because it's kind of like breathable if you look at it.
Yeah.
So they don't stick, and then I will come home and my mom have to make me separate it and all of that. But whenever we had parties and we need a lot of tortillas, she would make double the size of this one, so we could go get a lot of tortillas.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And that way you don't contaminate. You don't need a bag for it. All good.
I love this item.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's one of my favorite. I have so many. She's made so many. She also made a dress for my daughter for her.
She made birthday. A dress?
Yes, she
Oh my gosh.
I wish I'll show you a photo. She loves it. She called her Mexican princess dress.
Is it the same style of this or same style as your shirt?
None of them actually. It's different. It's a tenango, like what I told you, like the one from my hometown. I'll send you a photo because it's very colorful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely send me a photo. I want to see that.
I have so many of these ones.
So you said you have 3 items for me today. We looked at your shirt, at a table cover / a tortilla carrier.
Yes, tortillero.
Tortillero. Yeah. So what is the third item?
The photos. And I didn't know, again, if I was going to stay here forever, but just in case, I wanted to have something that reminded me of my family, because I didn't bring anything else with me, just my little suitcase with my clothes, and that's it. And I didn't know if I was going to be back or when I'd be back. So I grabbed a couple photos. I don't have one of them right now, but one of my mom and dad on their wedding day, because they look so handsome and she looks so pretty. And I have one of my dad and my daddy's girl. This is one of my favorite photos, because it's just him holding my baby sister, and this is her house, and I'm me there making a funny face. Me as a baby, so I could tell my kids, this is mama as a baby. And this one as a kid, and this is very random. It was just at a random beach, but I remember when they took this photo, it was a very candid photo, and I just remember being very happy for some reason. I don't know, but I just remember I had just came out of the beach, the sea, and I was just happy, full of sand, but somebody took a photo and I was just very happy.
So those 3 pictures is all you brought from Mexico, or do you have like an album? Because
no, I don't have an album.
You don't? No. Me and my mother, when we moved here, we had to bring like everything we owned because
you don't know if you'll be back.
Yes, exactly. And so we even brought a carpet from Russia, which was super heavy. I don't know how we managed to bring it, but we did, and it was huge. Funny. So those images, the fact that you only have 3 kind of makes me feel sad.
Well, I knew I'd be back. I mean, Mexico is not that far, but yeah, sometimes I do think about it. I should make an album. Yeah, I don't know. Everything is media right now.
Everything is media. Yes, so, you can have everything on your phone, like, and you have albums in your phone too. Yes. So I guess this shouldn't really matter that much. Just take a picture of that picture.
In the days, my mom had a huge like books. Literally, they were albums, and it was a book for each child. I had my own, my sister had them, and it's just for baby years. And then she will have another one for like when we were toddlers, and another one for when we were teenagers, and it's just like a lot. Yes. And we had, in Mexico, it's very traditional to do, when you're a baby, to do the caritas, they call it, the baby face, like the little face. So when the baby is little, they take a photo of the baby doing different emotions. They put 4 little faces, like sad, angry, happy, and they put it on the frame. They put it on the wall. Any Mexican household that you go, they have a kid with those little caritas. You know they're Mexicans. That's how you know. My mom had 4 caritas for all of us.
I never knew that. I never knew that.
It's very cute. I do have a digital photo of mine.
That's so fun. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. I wish I had that too.
It's cute. I want to do it for my kids and I never did.
You should. You should. That's very unique. Right, yes. Yes. I feel like that should be a trend on TikTok.
Caritas. Yeah, it's cute.
Well, thank you so much, Belen, for visiting me today. I enjoyed learning about your culture, your journey to the US, and I hope to hear back from you soon about your upcoming trip to Mexico.
Thank you. You'll do.
Thanks for tuning into the American Dream Podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on your favorite platform, keep dreaming, and see you next time.